Let's break down the 1-1-1 process. You've heard me say this, one problem. What does that mean exactly? What is something that creates a deep emotional problem in a customer's mind who would be happy to pay for a solution? That's what we're narrowly focusing on when we talk about one problem. Now, as far as solution, what does that mean? Well, in this proper context, it means what is a simple solution you already have or could easily assemble where the customer would get more value from you than the money you get from them. And lastly, one sitting. What's an aggressive time frame you can go from idea to finished product? I want you to, in your own time, sit down and really analyze every word of each one of these sentences because it's very important. I carefully chose every single word that I put in these sentences, and we're going to break down each of these and deep dive into problem, solution, sitting individually throughout the videos in this module here, right? But what is something that creates a deep emotional problem? I didn't just say a problem. A deep emotional problem. That's very important because there are superficial problems that people would like to solve but will never pay any money for. There's superficial problems that people would only solve with somebody that they trust, but not some stranger on the internet, right? Deep emotional problem also helps you narrowly focus immediately and automatically on something that will convert better. Now, here's the second part of that. Customer's mind, by the way. Not an actual problem, a problem that exists perceptively in the customer's mind. Whether or not it's accurate does not matter. The fact that it's in the mind is all that matters. Whether they perceive it and whether it's true doesn't matter. It's true to them. Now here's the last one. Happy to pay for a solution. This presupposes that they're getting the better end of the deal, which is how we should create our offers. We should always create a situation where customers can ethically rip us off. Because, a million customers taking advantage of me at a $10 a piece thing is something that I would love to happen every single day of the week. And by taking advantage of me, I mean they're getting $1,000 worth of value for $10 or $100 worth for $10, or it saves them 5 hours in their life. And unless they're making $2 an hour, that's a net gain for them, right? Second thing here, one solution. What is a simple solution? Simple, not complex. Just one, right? A simple solution. Now, you already have. So if you already have a really cool solution and you've never sold it and made money from it, break it down into its simplest format and get it out the door ASAP. Because every day that you do not do that is a day where you're losing money and you're cheating yourself out of profits. So you probably try to bite off too big of a piece. Let's bite off a small piece that we can chew, digest, and put out there for the customer. And by the way, if you don't have that, you're not screwed. Easily assemble. Very, very important phrase for you to understand. Easily assemble. Put together. Some of the case studies I'm going to break down for you are going to show you how I, in the morning, with something I knew nothing of, just did a 3-hour deep dive, and by the evening, I had a solution that people were very happy to pay for, even though I wasn't an expert on it when I woke up, but I was an expert on it when I went to sleep. There's many thousands, tens of thousands probably of solutions out there where customers would happily pay $5, $10, $15 for that you don't even know about today, but you could learn by the end of today and be selling tomorrow. That's one of the reasons one solution, one problem, one solution, one sitting products are so powerful. And then I like the last part here. Get more value from you than the money you get from them. See, if we set up a situation like that, selling then is never evil. Selling is not something that is bad. Selling is not something you do to somebody. Selling is not manipulation. That is a negative connotated manipulation, right? Selling in this capacity is fantastic. The customer will get more value from you than the money you get from them. Because it wouldn't work if we only could do this one-to-one. We would have no incentive to always be on the losing end, so to speak, of the value money trade. But because we can do this one-to-many, this is the wonderful way this world works, to where we can give more value than money we get in comparison, but we make it up in volume by having more people that we can sell it to. This is the beauty of the information product business. That's one solution and one sitting. I didn't necessarily say literally one sitting, although I do recommend it for a lot of people. It can be slightly different depending on the nature of the topic, but more importantly is an aggressive time frame. I want you to push yourself hard because you only have to push yourself once to do this. So make it a go. Make it a sprint from idea to finished product. I want a very aggressive timeline. This is when I'm going to start, and this is, no matter what, is when I'm going to end. No matter what, this is when I'm going to end. Let's break down the problem criteria. These are not an exhaustive list, but some of the things that I look for when focusing on problems that I would like to create a one solution-based information product on. My favorite is pain. Now, pain can be physical or pain can be mental. What is causing them existing pain that for every second they delay creates even more pain? And we will go into specific examples here of this in a bit. So when I say, okay, related to any market that I would want to look at, helping them solve a problem, pain is where I start. Because here's the beautiful thing. It'd be one thing to say, man, I wish I had a gorgeous $1 million smile. But every single day a customer doesn't have that is just missing out on a potential benefit. Now compare that to a customer who has a crippling toothache. Every single second that they delay taking action on that toothache is a second where they feel more pain. Which individual is more motivated to seek out a solution and pay for that solution? The $1 million smile version or the crippling pain version? Now that's a physical pain. Mental pain in a lot of instances is even worse for a lot of people. But when I'm looking and identifying and observing markets, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in a later video in this module, I am specifically looking first and foremost for, is this thing that a lot of people are talking about that they wish they had a solution for a pain point? Is it creating both mental and or physical pain? And for every day that they delay on solving this problem, will it create even more pain? Because most customers, including you and including me, by the way, we do not want to go out of our way to spend money with somebody to buy an information product that we then have to study, learn, think about, and then take that and translate that into our own effort and action, and then make adjustments and modifications if we don't immediately get the result that we want. So it takes a lot of motivation for a customer with that situation going in to find somebody and buy a product from them. So pain is a type of motivation where we need that to occur. And it's my favorite. Not personally favorite. Like I don't want anybody to experience pain, but my favorite one to solve if somebody is having a pain. Because if they have a pain every single day and you fix it for them, how much is that worth to them? A lot more than whatever you charge them. I promise you that. Here's the second thing, fear. What keeps them awake at night? What do they not want to admit to themselves or others? These are some very important words. What keeps them awake at night? So this is the kind of stuff that stresses them out, that they can't shut it down or ignore in their mind no matter how much they try. Because trust me, they try, right? And it still breaks through. So these are the people that will wake up at 3 in the morning, can't get back to sleep, and these are the people doing internet searches. These are the people that we want to help so they can sleep, right? Second part of that, what do they not want to admit to themselves or to others is very poignant. The best problems you can ever solve are problems where customers are ashamed to utter them out loud, even to themselves looking in the mirror. Now, hopefully you understand what we're doing here is not kindergarten stuff. This is important. We're providing a valuable service to the world by doing this, which is why we can make so much damn money with it, right? So very often customers will not admit their problem out loud, so you have to read between the lines. So when you're looking at markets and seeing what's a solution to a problem, is this a problem that customers are very reluctant and sheepish to admit? Because these are the types of customers who are going to be some of your first customers to purchase. Because if they never have to admit the problem and they can solve it, we provide them a tremendous amount of value. Here's another criteria, confliction. What are they doing that sabotages their own success related to solving their problem? Let me give you an example, and I'll give you more examples for each and every one of these. We're going to deep dive into all of these here, and then we're going to show you how we can put this all together in a system. Confliction, though, what are they doing to sabotage their own success related to solving their problem? There's many people out here who are morbidly obese, who want to and desire to lose weight, but still eat junk food every single day. That's a confliction problem. This is where behavior and desire contradict each other. Incongruency is another way that I describe this. And behavior is always the most interesting of the two to observe. Confliction. They want it, but they still can't get it. It's one thing to take somebody who's morbidly obese and who does have no desire to change their eating habits, have no desire or will to want to go out there and correct their health issues, right? We will never solve that problem for that customer because they don't have the desire. But it's another thing for somebody day in and day out because they've tried everything already, they think. Although they haven't obviously tried everything, because if they did, they'd already have the problem solved. But they think they've tried everything. And so they're very willing and eager to adopt new ways, different methodologies, even if they're ever so slightly different, to help them solve their problem. So when you're out there studying, it's like if customers are saying, I want a solution for this, but then they're doing behavioral things that contradict that solution, we either have to adjust their behavior or create a situation where they can still get the solution in spite of their incongruent behavior. Think about that one. That's a lot of money to be made in that phrase that I just said to you there. Anger. What pisses them off as being unfair and unjust, right? What do they feel is a righteous injustice? You ever heard the phrase people vote with their wallets? There's a lot of validity to that, and not just in the phrase, and not just in the context of people will tell you what they like based on what they spend money on, because that's usually what that phrase has meant. What I mean is vote with their wallets is people will create movements by buying stuff. The consumerism tied to socialism is very powerful. A lot of people think like states like the or countries like the U.S. are capitalistic societies. We are socially capitalistic for the most part, which is kind of an interesting side note. We won't get into that here, but think about that in your own time here. What pisses them off is being unfair. Because if we can create a solution that fixes that unfairness in their mind and also gets them a benefit as a consumer, we hit pay dirt. It's very, very easy if you identify a situation like that to hit pay dirt. Loneliness is the next one. What does everyone misunderstand about them except you? How can you justify existing behavior? What does everyone misunderstand about them except for you? Because if everybody misunderstands them, what's the implication? It means they're isolated, that nobody gets them. It means they don't have a deep soul connection with anybody else. They feel desolate, right? And actually, desolate is one on its own. We're going to talk about that next. And most of these problems are intertwined, but they feel despondent. They feel like there's no hope for them. And then you make it. And more importantly, not just overall hope, which we'll talk more deeply about in the last one here, but you give them a spark where a spark did not exist. You give them a connection where a connection did not exist. And half the time they'll spend money with you even if they don't want the solution to the problem, because you solved a bigger problem, which is overall loneliness at the highest level. But even at an individual level, I always look at markets of customers saying, man, what is every other person who's selling them a product not quite understanding or missing out on because they're not taking time to really listen to what the customer is saying. And so therefore, if I can connect with them, I immediately get so much leverage that they're very willing to take a chance on any solution that they can spend money on that I might propose to them. Now, how can you justify existing behavior? So if people misunderstand somebody and why they do what they do, then they will make erroneous conclusions. But if I can understand that somebody overeats, not because they lack nutritional education, maybe they know, right? But maybe they overeat because they have some sort of medical condition that has been probably misunderstood by most other people, and I can point them to say, hey, take a look and check out these levels of this thing, this level of that, and this level of that, and see what happens. Then they can say, it wasn't the fact that I had lack of willpower that prevented me from losing weight, which is what everybody said, right? It was because I had a legitimate medical condition that almost imprisoned me. And then a very simple solution to that existed in the form of whatever, right? In the form of simply changing your acid to alkaline, or I don't know, right? These are all hypotheticals here, but you see my point where we can say, listen, the reason you behave this way is because of some unseen or misunderstood or unobserved phenomenon or behavior. I brought you aware of that. We instantly fixed the problem. As a result of that, they will love you. Loneliness. Now you have connected with them. You understood them when nobody else could. Lastly, desolate. What would make their depressing life fill with hope again? How can you empower them where they currently feel helpless? And these are all at the highest theoretical level because we need to be aware of the underlying system of observing problems. In any market that I look at going into where I'm going to immediately go from stranger to somebody that people are happy and eager and willing, and lots of people happy and eager and willing to pay money for an information product from me, right? Fear, pain, anger, confliction, desolation, loneliness. That's what I always look for, both directly and then implicitly as well as explicitly here. But what would make their depressing life fill with hope again? If you can give them hope, it really doesn't even matter what else you sell them. As long as it has hope attached to it, and not fake hope, not false hope that wears off right away, but a genuine forever change in their mind and lifestyle or way they look at things. That person will make excuses to want to stay around you. So what I look for is, where's an easy way I can gain a little bit of long-term hope with a customer? What's something that they feel helpless about that they think is impossible to change? And if I can create that change, I'm going to be rich. Empowerment is a very important word here, because I believe it is going to benefit you greatly to take the philosophy that not to be cynical that these customers are screwed and that there's no help for them and that you should just profit off of them. And a lot of people are like that, unfortunately, right? I say whatever they're using right now, whatever approach, whatever thought process, however they do it now is not empowering. But I believe with the different set of circumstances, tools, or what have you, they can be empowered. And that belief that they can be empowered leads me to seek out solutions to empower them. And if I miss on the first, second, and third, it doesn't matter, because if I hit on the fourth, it's all worth it at the end of the day. Now, quick step back before we move on. This seems very depressing, focusing on problems. There's a reason why, and I don't know if this is exactly true or not, but the general sentiment is that psychiatrists is the profession that has the highest suicide rate, is because all they do is focus on people's problems all day long. So there is something to be said about when we narrowly focus on problems like this, we can feel bleak, or it seems depressing to us, or pessimistic or cynic to us to look at this. But here's the deal. Problem is one facet of it. We also provide the solution. So we start in the trenches. We start in the deep, dark part of the human experience and the condition, but we come out on the other side better for it.